Nubar or Maxlor is in charge of a lot of the pathings and the pressure points that we play.
I saw this video that Misfits produced recently, and obviously your players really love you and they think you're such an amazing coach. What do you think that makes you so unique as a coach?
I think my background, as people saw in the video, is a bit unique and special on its own, and it's made me go through certain life experiences that I think help me with my job and understanding how to work with different people.
And more on the games you're going to have today. You will face Vitality in the last game of the day. How do you think that will go? How are you ready for it?
We had a long talk after yesterday's games. I think we figured out what our issues are, and I honestly believe every single time we go on stage, we are a better team, and we just need to figure out how to execute correctly, and I'm confident we can do that today.
Well, we'll see that later today. Thank you, and
so much.
Good luck, obviously. And now, back to Shux and the guys at the desk.
Thank you very much, Laura. Always a pleasure to hear from the
Coach
Moose. The Moose, indeed. That video he referenced, go check it out if you haven't seen it yet about his background over on the Misfits YouTube and probably the Twitter as well. You'll find it. It is great to get some insight into the background of the coach of the Misfits, because Misfits is on stage up versus Vitality as our final game of the week. And the day at the office just gets better and better, because these are two teams that had a very big showdown earlier in the split, but now not so good. Misfits lost the last 5 out of their 6 games. Obviously, Vitality is not doing too hot and has lost now 3 in a row. So we're both looking at them to make a statement here, and it's a bit of a grudge match.
It certainly is. Maxlor and Gilius in the jungle. They were some harsh words thrown the last time that those two went up against each other. And when it came down to it, Vitality had a phenomenal early game. One of the fastest inhibitors of the regular season was taken by Vitality. And then it came down to a Baron Smite. Maxlor stole it. He made the play. He got the outplay. And he brought his team back in what was one of the biggest deficits of the regular season. Like, it was such a tense matchup. Vitality suffered their first loss during the first half of the split.
Yes.
And right now, they're on a decline. And it feels like the Vitality getting a win against Misfits would definitely be a big morale booster for them, getting them back on track to what was a phenomenal start to the split.
Oh, yes, definitely. They lost that first spot, Vitality. They dropped now 3 games, and there is a fear creeping in with the caster team, and probably even more so with the team of, okay, we got to turn this around, guys. Do you think the fact that this is a bit of a grudge match, often, obviously, we look at these things, it's a bit of drama here and there, but I do feel like Gilius will really want to make a statement.
I feel like he does, and I also think the Vitality want to prove that they do have an identity, because so far throughout the regular season, it's been very much Gilius and Jizuke playing around the mid lane and setting themselves up for success. But unfortunately, when they're unable to do that and they try to play through other lanes like the bot, and maybe sometimes even the top, they don't find that same level of success. So I'm looking at this mid laner once again. I think it's a perfect avenue to take advantage of, especially when you consider the last time these two met, Jizuke got the solo kill down onto his opposition in Senkux. And I feel like Senkux is still a weak point that Misfits needs to compensate for.
Well, let's talk a bit about Senkux and Misfits in general. We talked a lot about the plan and that we have faith in the plan that Coach Hussein is going through with his team right now. But if you look at their development at this point, how far do you think they are? At what point are they? And are they strong enough to today take down Vitality?
I mean, right now, I think the problem for Misfits is that they're very close, because you see so many great things. We heard about how from the Moose himself that we have great early games. We are able to execute upon our comp, but then they just fall at the last moment. And for me, it's still about that individual X factor that we talked about yesterday, where you don't have that person stepping up and making the play that turns that early game gold lead into the dramatic win that we're so used to seeing from this Misfit squad of last year.
Well, Veti's players are about ready. I know your predictions aren't doing too well. Who do you have to win this one, and why?
I have said Misfits. I feel like today we are going to see the return of Hans Sama being the big carry. I think there is a huge discrepancy between the two bot laners, and I think he's going to put Mini Trupex in his place.
Let's see. That will do from us here for now as we head over to the casters. Maxlor shares some thoughts ahead of tonight's duel with Gilius.
Okay, so the reason I think Gilius is really bad at Baron Smite is because when it comes down to a Baron and it's 50-50, it's basically on the jungler's shoulders. Like, the game can just throw. Like, the jungler stealing can just get it back for his team, and the jungler taking it can just lose it for his team.
Maxwell might look for the seal, has the ult if he wants to go in, but Gilius is quite low. The Baron so low, the jump in, the stick.
But I think when you're ahead, which Vitality are a lot, if you're the jungler that's taking that 50-50 and you're ahead, it's a lot more pressure than the guy trying to steal it, you know?
Going low real fast. This is a 40-minute Vitality squad. Memento looking to come in. He can do it! Oh, Memento! Teleport would have to come in for Profit to have that impact. Already down to half the health. Narscarin going around the side. Memento looking to see if he can make it 2 for 2. He goes over the wall. The shuttle's not gonna go, and he does it twice! Are you kidding me? Memento!
And that's a massive issue that Gilius has got, I think, when it comes to Baron. There's so much pressure and he just can't handle it.
Well, we'll find out who's going to handle the pressure today. Welcome back to the cast today. I'm Quickshot, he's the Fisher. We're getting geared up for Misfits taking on Vitality. Now, Misfits will be starting on the blue side. So just before we jump into picks and bans, let's quickly remind everybody of who the roster is. I'm going to start with the Moose V, standing behind Alfari, Maxwell, Senkax, Hansama, and Mickey. And we'll see what the Moose has prepared for picks and bans today.
Oh, I wonder if he's going full late game after they've been losing every single late game they played for the last 5-6 games. And he said in the interview, sometimes the comps are a little bit too hard to play. Well,
yesterday, Vitality talked a little bit about going late game. Yamato Cannon spoke about adjusting to the patch and changing a style.
Scares us a little bit.
A little bit.
I want to see aggressive.
Well, let's see what they decide to do today, because yesterday didn't work. Yamato Cannon standing, of course, behind Cabo, Gilius, Jazuke, many Troopax.
Hey, Gilius saw himself. He was like,
what are you expecting from picks and bans? Because yesterday, there was a little bit of talk about, from Yamato about maybe not necessarily reading the patch correctly, and they needed to pivot, but they didn't look great in their game yesterday.
Well, I just hear Jizuke laugh, and then you gotta laugh yourself. But the problem for them, we've seen 3 games in a row now, is there's one, Jizuke doesn't get ahead early game, which he did in the start of the split, so that kind of shuts down how aggressive they can play. And 2, a lot of the comps have gotten outscaled.
Right.
And what a lot of teams in Europe say right now is it's easier to play for late game. So if you keep losing games trying to play for early mid game, the answer could be draft more scaling.
Hey, Fnatic agreed, and that's how they won in the previous game.
But that's what kind of scares me a little bit, because I think Misfits and Vitality have been very good at playing aggressive, fun early to mid games with a lot of action. That's what I want to see. I don't need to see more wave clear. Fnatic already did that for 40 minutes.
Well, of course, reminder that this is a rematch. The last time Misfits played Vitality, Vitality smashed the early game so well. During the mid game, they tried to go to that Baron, and Maxwell stole the Baron. That was how Misfits came back, and that was the first time that Team Vitality actually lost the game this split.
Yeah.
We heard Maxwell talking about the problems Gilius has in the Smite pits and the Smite fights, and we might be able to see that replay in a moment or two. Before that, though, Ryze, Skarner, Gangplank banned away, Tristana, Galio. I'm not shocked by any of these yet.
The biggest thing that happened last week when Vitality went 0-2 was we looked at it and said, oh, they play against Galio twice. They can't kill the Galio, they can't kill the side lanes against the Galio. He shuts down their aggressive playstyle. After that, they've been banning Galio both games this week. So that is a good change on their side. Still didn't matter yesterday when they got honestly stumped by Giants. That being said, they talk a lot about how it's time to bounce back. It's time to show that Team Vitality are a team with strong mental fortitude. They don't crumble when they start losing games. The big names, the big egos can pick it up and then get back in the saddle. It's time to show that. They can't go down 4 games in a row.
Yes, especially for a team that finished the first half of the round robin at the top of the table. Let's see what happens in terms of the rest of this draft. It's a Zoe first pick for Senkax. It'll be his 3rd time on the champion this split. On the other side, Mini Troopax locks in the Kalista once again. I remember he played it last week.
Yeah.
Didn't necessarily have the impact that maybe you would expect from a champion like that.
He was against Tristana, Alistar, and that didn't work well. Ooh, very early casted in. Jizuke knowing already what the mid lane matchup will be, and they're saving other picks for later. Obviously now Misfits knows it's going to be a casted in mid they can play against, and if they get an aggressive jungler who can gank, they can probably shut down Jizuke pretty hard, which is something we've seen Vitality struggle to deal with. So things like a Jarvan could be good for Maxwell to just camp around the mid lane in the early game. Zac is also available, but later Zac against Cassidy doesn't work too well because he kind of just jumps away from you. I want to see if it's going to be a Jarvan for Maxwell or not. Alistar is also a champion I'm looking at just because it's a good answer to Kalista lanes. Seems like they take this Ezreal for Ansama that he's been playing constantly over the last few weeks.
Yeah, 3 games played, 7, 3, and 12. In-game, a lot of priority picks up and available. The jungle pool has taken a bit of a beating. Sejuani and Skarner taken out. And now Alfari will most likely get his hands on that Camille.
And Camille is smart because her ulti is so effective against champions with a lot of mobility, and that's both Kassadin and Kalista. So I like that choice on Misfits side. Maybe feeling that Jarvan late game will struggle too much against Kalista and Kassadin specifically, and just get out of the ulti. Tahm Kench for Jack Troll.
Yep. It's most played champion. The split will get locked in again.
And then he can try and save whoever the Camille jumps on. And another thing about Tahm Kench is if in the late game one of your teammates get hit by the bubble from Zoe, Tahm Kench can then avoid, the poke coming in that would land on that teammate.
So, phase 2 bans now. Will Zach find himself in the ban champion pool? Do you think that's even a possibility?
Well, there's no junglers picked yet other than potentially the Camille jungle. So Jarvan and Zach will both be here. Of course, Sejuani and Skarner banned in the first one. See a Braum ban, and we get a clip of
Yes.
course, the two junglers from before. Just a reminder.
This was the play that gave Misfits the victory several weeks ago. And you can see Misfits just coming in, zoning Vitality away, and obviously with no jungler locked in yet, and the fact that it was one of the leading stories for Vitality's first loss of the split, and then the fact Gilles has had multiple Barons stolen thereafter. Let's see where they go. Jax is off the pool, another jungler taken away, but Kha'Zix is still there, Zach is still there.
There's enough choices. I want to see if Vitality just grabs jungler first and saves pick for Cabochard, just to make sure they know if it's going to be Camille jungle or top lane. On the side of Misfits, that would make a lot of sense, and you can easily grab, again, like a Zach or a Jarvan on the side of Vitality, and you don't really show too much with it. It is often very important to get a jungler with some early game presence when you have a Kassadin. Otherwise, you lose mid lane control way too hard, and then it gets really hard to play the game for the first 20 minutes.
Well, the Fiora ban, a big respect ban to Cabochard. Does that somewhat imply that Camille was going top?
Definitely sets up the Camille top lane even more. It's actually the Jax ban also kind of smart because it hits both Cabochard and Gilius in this case, but this is the Jarvan we talked about here.
Yep.
Simply because they need something in the early game to also protect the Kassadin.
It is also Gilius' most played champion as well, so a lot of comfort there getting locked in. And on the side of Misfits Gaming, we've seen that support Shen flirted with in a couple of the regions.
And when you're looking at Vitality, you know it's going to be split push with Kassadin. You know Tahm Kench is going to sit mid and can ult to both side lanes. So something that can try and match globally could be an answer for Misfits. That's why they're going towards Shen in this specific case here, because they know it's going to be a lot about playing multiple lanes. And we know the Shen ulti is powerful. If there are 1v1s happens, quickly they become 2v1s.
So how do you round up the composition? Zach seems the obvious choice to me. Another frontliner. Give yourself some tanky ability and some big-ass range to engage with. And then, of course, Vitality need to round out. So what would Cabochard run into what's going to be this Camille Shen frustrating combination to deal with?
If they want to fully commit to like insane crazy 1-3-1, they need something that can handle the Camille top side. He could also just go for something like Ornn and say, you know what, as long as I just go even against Camille, I will be super powerful for late game team fights. Oh, old school Cabochard. This used to be one of his most played champions, and not something we've seen in a long time from him. Would be actually quite a surprise if it gets picked, and it is locked in. We get a Rumble top lane for Cabochard.
Well, what do you make of that then, if you look at the rest of the composition, now that we know the entire map as well? We've got some scaling, we've got some team fight, and we've got that hot pot combination of Cataclysm as well as the Equalizer. So there is some really good synergy here on the Team Vitality squad.
I can see Vitality play top side early and try and win with this Rumble pick. Try and destroy the Camille early in the laning phase, because late game Rumble loses to most of the split pushers in the game. It's always about strong save early into then very good team fighting, especially around the mid game. You know, he gets early magic penetration, you group up with him and you fight, but that goes against the Kassadin pick. So I think we're gonna see Vitality put their attention topside early game, get Cabochard as far ahead as possible, make sure Jizuke doesn't fall too far behind mid, and then move him to the other side lane. And as long as Cabochard has a lead, he might be okay, but I'm afraid that he gets jumped by Shen plus a Camille every single time.
Well, let's see what Cabochard can do. You guys know how to vote. Jump onto Twitter. Go throw those flares up. Hashtag MSF win or hashtag VIT win. It's an interesting composition here from Vitality. They're on a 3-game losing streak. Now, to be fair, Misfits have lost 2 games in a row themselves. And a lot of the time, it's their own decision-making that has come back to hurt Misfits in the later stages of the game. A lot of pressure on that man on your screen, Maxlaw, taking on Gilius, especially with all the banter that the two guys have had over the split. It's the last game here of week 6, the last game of patch 8.3. Next week, we'll be moving over to 8.4. There's new AP items, but for now, it's the old school Rumble with an old school top lane at Cabochard. And our eyes will be on how he plays
100%.
and how well Misfits can prevent him getting ahead.
We have to look a lot at that early game with the Rumble pick. Airy is his choice, so no big surprise there. Just to get a bit of additional damage for him. Stopwatch as well, smart when you're playing against Camille, because you know she can't dive onto you with ulti, and that could be the saving grace. In this case, though, when you pick Rumble or Kassadin, I feel like you're gambling in the draft. We know that a Zoe can apply a ton of early game pressure. We know that a Camille Shen combo in the late game will absolutely destroy Cabochard in the side lane. So I'm kind of trying to see how Vitality wants to play, other than, of course, Gilius focus Cabochard's lane early on and try and protect Jizuke at the same time.
Well, if they do that, maybe that's how they unlock and break this win streak, Deficio. For Vitality, that honeymoon period, for a team that is not used to losing. You know, when 4 of these 5 members were playing on Giants last year, they won almost everything they played in. They had an extremely successful LVP run in the Spanish League. They were the first team to qualify for the 2018 season of the EU LCS from the promotion tournament. And they started off this year with such a phenomenal hot streak and just great performances. But over the last 2 weeks, that has all sort of crumbled around. And as it stands, Jackshall and many Tupacs will get an early advantage in this lane. The race to level 2 is on. I don't think Hansama missed any minions there.
I gotta admit, Trevor, I kind of hope Vitality gets back in form, because I miss the confident talk. I miss some of the interviews they did, which actually create a lot of hype around them that I really enjoyed. So let's see what happens in this game here, because if you're on the Misfit side, as you guys can see, top left corner, 5 and 6 so far in the split. In a big group with a lot of other teams trying to lock down a playoff spot, but also in a group where they're constantly afraid that the teams underneath them keep winning. They're only 1 win ahead of Unicorns and H2K, who's number 9 and number 10 in the EU LCS.
Hey, the tiebreakers, Deficio. We're going back to 2013, 2014 when we had BO1 tiebreakers. But I want to show a gold graph of the last time these teams played, because of course it was Vitality that won early. We talked a lot about the Baron steals, as we've shown several times already. And when you actually look at the gold graph, you can see how Misfits fell behind.
It's just yesterday, Trevor.
Oh, this was yesterday's one.
It's your memory. It's
The point I was going to get to next was Misfits, after bouncing back against Vitality, they now lose games when they get ahead.
Yeah, they are really good at winning early to mid game. They're really good at getting first Baron, and then they're really bad at winning the game. Bot lane, that was a good taunt. Jackdaw already left, walked away when Trubeck stayed around. Maxlaw is the first one to gank top. It is pretty easy to gank a Rumble, so I like this play.
All right, early flash comes out. Stretching strike will find a target. A little step back, but Maxlaw will be happy with the flash. We'll be able to rinse and repeat, or just allow Alfari to now take over that lane.
Meanwhile, Gilius just went for a full clear on his side, so he's level 4, gets the Tracker's Knife and a control ward for himself. Let's see where he puts the attention. Again, I am mainly looking towards top side, but Rumble's gank setup is not great. We know that. Give him level 6 first, and then you can start doing more. We might see Vitality, once we get Magic Pen on Cabochard, look to see if they can make plays around where Jizuke is, but Jizuke's going to be weak. So he's strong almost at every stage of the game, and Kassadin needs so much time before he really adds a lot of value. Now we get the top lane play we talked about. Sadly for Gilius, it's pushed against Alfari.
So Alfari's going to be very happy. Just peel back. Gilius looking at wards. Got himself a control ward in the inventory if he wanted to set up any sort of vision, but instead pops the blast cone, gets out safety. It'll allow Cabochard a little bit of extra breathing room. Not too much to speak of, and of course many true packs using that Callista Sentinel. Send that one out, gain some additional vision and information. They're shoving in Hansama and Mickey. This Shen support, it's not a pick we see a whole lot here in Europe, but I have seen it over in LCK. I actually think it was played earlier today, if I remember correctly.
It was played a lot earlier patches when Aftershock dealt a lot more damage in the early game, because Shen with Ignite and Aftershock could basically 1v1 the enemy AD carry. Then after, he got moved to more tanky stats on that side. We've seen less and less Shen. Another taunt coming on bottom side. It is because we have Maxlaw around. Meanwhile, mid, Jizuke is getting free farm. He's getting his level 6, and that's when he can start playing against the Zoe. Because one of the answers to poke is engage, and Kassadin can jump a Zoe very frequently in the game. Gilius is around as well. Still, as we talk about him, top side. Protect mid.
Yep.
See if you can do something against the Camille. Because Caboshot, he will be good in lane until later when he might die in a split push.
Caboshot's getting close to equalizer stage as Jack Troll gets taunted up by that Shadow Dash. A Devour actually comes up from Mickey. Grey health is popped. It looks like Hansama is just going to start to recall in the bush. So many Troopax, Berserker's Greaves picked up. He's returned to lane. And not too many minions lost there to the tower. Let's see where Max Law and Gilius decide to take this game. We've spoken so much about them. Got a couple extra stats that we can highlight in terms of jungle proximity, the amount of time they spend around their laners, how effective they are with that time. Max Law, very good. Kills plus assists at 15. And obviously the CSD is raw numbers. It doesn't necessarily take into account the gold, but just a difference in style here or effectiveness in the early game.
Yeah, he's been one of the best early game junglers this split from Max Law's side. Also played some picks that could be a little bit more aggressive in the early game. On Zac, he can be very active. We've seen a lot of good Zac performances here in Europe. Still sitting with a very high win rate, but once again, the early and mid game is not where we're looking at Misfits, it's late game. And I think their draft in this game, full late game against a Kassadin, might struggle unless Sengox can really perform on Zoe. I still like the fact, though, that they have Camille to try and lock down Kassadin, and I think that could be enough for them. But Misfits draft will be fairly hard to execute when it just comes to dancing around a potentially strong Kassadin.
Well, the question is, where does Jack Troll go with his time? He's got that Devour available to him. So I guess the target that gets hit by Camille's ulti could get devoured by Jack Troll. Or of course, Gilius with a Cataclysm, the Equalizer to follow it up. That could be hugely impactful. Senkox just picked himself up and Exhaust. So that could be very interesting on his W. We'll see how that plays out. No team's made a big play for any of the objectives. We have another Cloud Drake immediately off the bat. And just waves, you know, even CS for the most part, a small advantage for Cabo at this moment in time.
There's an opportunity for potential tower dive top against Camille. Now the Caboshot is, you know, he got his first item, or built towards his first item, of course getting armor in there. He has ulti ready. Camille's no stopwatch. Afari's only way out is either hookshot away or try to dodge around with his ult against a crucial, like a big knockup.
Right.
But I think it is definitely the lane for Vitality to play around in this game here. Now you also have to respect that Mickey is soon level 6. So that can interrupt it a bit. But otherwise, if you just keep farming with Kassadin, that's okay on Vitality side.
Yeah, Jizuke working his way towards first big items. Obviously Senkox, double Doran's rings. Got himself that stopwatch still available for any shenanigans that break out by at least a couple seconds. And for Misfits and Vitality, it's a slow start to the game for two teams that have, throughout the course of the split, actually had fairly good early games.
Luckily, with these kind of picks, we will get a lot more activity compared to the stall forever waveless strategy. Because both sides, like, if you look at Kalista and Kassadin, that's not great wave clear if you're getting Seastone, so you have to fight your way out if you're Vitality. And on the other side, well, of course, Zoe can kind of one-shot the back half if she just shoots the Q around it. It's not a traditional farm for late and do nothing but wave clear comms, so we should see a lot of small skirmishes into later big team fights.
And it's so important at this stage of the split. It's week 6. After today, there's only 3 weeks of games left, and I know we keep showing these standings graphics, but it is so important to see how close these teams are. Vitality 7 and 4, Misfits 5 and 6. If they lose, they're tied with Schalke and Roccat. If they win, they're tied with Giants and Splice. Either way, they're so close in the standings when you look at postseason and finding yourself a seed for the playoffs.
And it's all about playoffs because there is no promotion tournament here in the spring split. It's not about avoiding getting 10th or 9th. At that point, as long as you're not top 6, it actually technically doesn't matter where you end up with the bottom 4, which is why we only talk about the race for playoff and not the race to avoid being dead last.
Yep. And of course, that race for dead last, HTK and UOL, proving they've got something to say as we near the end of the split. But let's take a look. Tongue Lashing will connect onto Hansama. He uses that arcane shift to get out to safety while Mickey throws down a Spirit's Refuge. 89 CS for Hansama's Ezreal to the 102 for many Troopax on Kalista. The big fight continues to break out. Ren stack slowly building up, but it feels like Mini Trupax and Jack Troll don't really come away with a big advantage despite playing so heavily into
around mid. It is a Kassadin who will do this. Yeah, that never works. Bot lane though, we see the Shen can't really do much in lane because he taunts and then Jack Troll eats the guy and then that's it. So it's a tough lane for Misfits to play at the moment, and they're only using the Shen for that ulti later against the split push of Vitality. But when you play Kalista comp, you do Drakes early.
Yep.
Sucks for you, it's a Cloud Drake, you're a lot like an Ocean or an Infernal, but you take what you can get, and you just start getting the next Drake spawning, and you try and snowball that objective. And Maxwell knows that, so he's playing top side.
Well, look at the CS numbers here, the Fisher. Plus 12 for Cabochard, plus 8 for Jizuke, plus 12 for Mini Trupax. Small advantages in the opening levels. I think sort of expected, maybe?
Yeah.
But it's using the next step now, unlocking either the Kassadin or the Rumble to take over the game.
I think it's a little bit surprising that Jizuke currently winning mid in CS. Didn't really get poked at any point in the game and could just safely get level 6, and now he's more than fine. So it was a smart choice from Vitality in the draft. Say, we're fine giving a first pick mid laner to Misfits because we're not afraid of Senkuks.
Yeah.
And then Jizuke can grab a pick like Kassadin for himself and be like, fine, because Senkuks will not dumpster him in the laning phase. And we know the Kassadin late game is going to be such a monster. Get a lane swap from Vitality side, no Tahm Kench ulti used, not spotted yet. And then Afari, smart man, gets the call. Hello, bot lane went back to base, put a ward, and he did. I like you, Afari.
Doing the right thing.
It's so simple. Place a ward, save a life. That's just how it works.
Even if it's your own life, that's exactly what Alfari did. The race for Tower First Blood is on. Of course, Hansama and Mickey got there first, so they're hammering away. Alfari's coming to back up Senkuks. Get a couple extra autos. Tower First Blood secured by Vitality. Well ahead of Misfits, so they'll maintain the gold lead. As now the pressure is on. Shelly's been summoned into the mid lane. Drowsy will connect as well as the sleep onto Jizuke. And the powered up dash will chunk up that mid tower. 500 gold lead for Vitality, but they're not going to get more just yet.
Oh, we'll get that one down as well. Didn't lose mid turret. So Misfits do get the bot lane turret and got that Rift Hill from earlier. Vitality get Drake plus top lane tower. So both teams trading back and forth. Now the laning phase will start closing. We might get some more split push. Jizuke gets level 11 very soon. There is no top lane out of turret. So suddenly if you're Alfari, you got a little bit scared because you're kind of afraid that you get jumped by like 3 men instantly.
It's going to be interesting to see how effectively both of these teams play the side lanes now. Because we've got a slightly non-traditional comp here from Vitality, not something we see a huge amount, Kassadin and the Rumble. And both of these teams have had mid-game mistakes in recent weeks. And that's the part of the game that has to get cleaned up in order to take over, really with either team composition here today.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun seeing the two supports sit in mid, look at each other, and both just kind of wait until one of the players in the side lane makes something happen, and they're like, let's go both of us, hand in hand, and join the fight, and see who wins. Because none of them can really do anything against each other. Like, Tahm Kench can never kill Shen, Shen can never kill Tahm Kench, so they can literally sit there and wait with their ultis to follow what the laners want to do. And that is the life of support sometimes.
It is, but when you have laners like Alfari, Cabochard, Jizuke, you're willing to follow them into battle. Senkuks, you don't want to follow into battle because he's more of a poke kind of guy. He ideally wants to play a little further back, use that paddle star.
And we have to see how he's positioned later on. Because putting Zoe in the side lane against Kassadin, oh, that's a long lane. Kassadin's going to chase her down pretty easily. That can be tricky for them. So if they keep her mid, they have to put Hansama side lane, which can be the choice with the Shen. And then we don't get the two supports waving at each other in mid. But instead we get Hansama just chain farming, getting as far ahead as he can, as we'll always get faster towards 2 items. But he's not been getting any kills in this game, like we've seen traditionally with Hansama in the early game.
Yeah, not today. Even on gold, basically, with Mini Trupax. Despite having that kleptomancy, not really had a huge amount of trading in the laning phase. So with 15 minutes in, it is as even as this game is going to be, but Vitality at risk of losing a tower. Pressure coming in of all of Misfits. The Sleepy Trouble bubble goes up. There's the Cataclysm involved. Not going to go down just yet. Here comes Cabo. The equalizer goes down. It's roasting Misfits alive. Let's Bounce gets thrown out by Maxwell. He's run for his life. Jack Troll's back on the front line. Gilius held onto the Cataclysm for so long enough to roast Maxwell for first blood. It's Mini Trupax that picks it up. Jack Troll devours Jizuke and escapes with his life. Vitality get the fight and the kill.
That was such a close fight, though. So many low members. Sanguk's flashing forward.
Where is the paddle star? Not going to get caught yet. Jizuke's on the front end. The Stand United has already been used. Mickey's running for his life. There's the engage from Mini Trupax. He eats a paddle star. Goes down. The sleep comes out. They're trading back and forth. Senkux gets another. He's got a Blade of the Ruin King active. Jizuke and Senkux are low. And that was a messy back end of the fight.
Well, in the end, we get a massive fight around the mid lane that I thought it was over, and then we saw another play. All started with Sengux landing the bubble. Crazy fights back and forth with 3 kills for Vitality, and they still defend this mid lane turret. So, okay, let's see the whole thing from the start. The reaction to the siege, we mentioned this earlier, the wave is not great from Vitality. They have to fight their way out. TP in behind, I like the setup. All the members showing up instantly. And for dramatic effect, we also removed the sound because it's too cruel to listen to everyone getting roasted by a cover shot. I mean, a rumble, whatever. Same thing at this point. Gilius, he's out. Jizuke's sitting down here at the bottom, fighting 1v3 at a point, and then Jack Troll eats him, spits him out, and we're like, okay, it's over. Vitality, you won the first battle, but not the war. And then Senkux is like, ha ha ha.
So who decides to engage here under the tower? That's a flash forward.
And then he falls in, Jizuke jumps in, and suddenly the fight is now under the turret. Hansama even went in, and that was risky. And they killed Mini Trupax instantly, also with the damage from Senkux, but Jizuke picks up another kill on the castle. And that fight was all over the place. I didn't even know what on earth was happening.
It was exciting, and of course at the end of it, 3 kills to 2 in favor of Vitality. The baby cage is put down. Alfari's locked in Cabo, and with Cabo busy overheating, he's not going to do a lot. Throws down the stopwatch, which I'm not quite sure was really worthwhile, as he still gets killed in the end. And that's the 3rd kill now for Misfits.
Never getting away from that one. Kimball can keep doing this against the Rumble. Jizuke got the 1st kill, 2 kills for Min Trupax as well. Always got to remember that with Vitality's composition, when you have that Kalista, Baron is a constant possibility, only if you control the river. And that's what they're looking to do.
Right, Baron will be up in a few minutes' time. We look down the kills. 2 kills for Mini Trupax, 1 for Jizuke. But it's all 3 carries on the side of Misfits. Alfari, the Cooks, and Hansama that all have theirs secured. We're still even in kills, even in towers. Only the Dragon separates Vitality for now. And we're setting ourselves up for some extremely intense mid-game team fights as both teams are going in there with no clear advantage and nobody clearly in the driver's seat.
And we saw in the last fight, it's all about execution. Like, there are so many squishy members in this game. It's not the 2 tank top laners, it's Camille versus Rumble. So every fight, whoever's standing in the front might die in just a matter of a few seconds. Maxwell will have a bit of an advantage by being the Zac in this case. Gilius tried to do his best in the last one, almost died for it.
Fisher, Gilius held on to that Cataclysm for a very, very long time. I do pay attention to some social media because Gilius said he'll step up things big time today and break the lose streak. He can't live with the feeling of losing anymore, and we'll have to judge his performance as this game still has a lot to play.
I can't believe you stole that one. I requested that.
You did. It's a team game.
But you said you paid attention to social media and you found it.
I did, indeed. I mean, the internet heard me say it first, therefore I'm right and you're wrong. Right? The team game. Thank you, Deficio. What do you think of Gilius' chances of winning this game?
Higher than the last 3 games they've played.
Okay.
Where at this point they were down roughly 5k gold each one of them. Also good to have a member like Gilius who has a lot of experience losing, because he can help your team when they are down. And it's important to have those kind of players in your lineup.
Well, Cavershot has a lot of experience with that as well. And
hey, 2 veterans.
2 veterans, 2 leaders. Opinion masters on the side of Vitality. All right, Baron's going to be up soon. Look at the vision on the minimap. Vitality have got themselves a trio of control wards. 2 in the river, 1 just behind the blue buff. So they're setting themselves up for any potential in that area, if an opportunity presents itself.
Give it a while. Give it a while. Misfits Comp doesn't exactly rush down a Baron. It's all about the fighting, but Jizuke can't fight because he's against Israel and Shen. They can't control mid because Zoe's mid, and she just kills the wave instantly, and whoever's against her So right now Vitality can't really utilize split push. They also know bot lane that if Cabershot is fighting 1v1, Shen shows up pretty quickly. And that becomes difficult. Jack Troll has to react then instantly and actually go down and save him. So it's really hard for Vitality at the moment to play split push, just because Misfits mid-game is so good with Zoe and Ezreal and Shen support.
So how do they unlock it then? If this kind of like rock, paper, scissors in terms of team composition or decision making is, you know, each team kind of counters some element of the other team, where do they force an objective, or where do they find an opening?
They unlock it through a team fight where Jizuke finds a flank on the caster. Like, he's still farming. The fact they're not killing people now is fine when you have a Kassadin who can always get level 16. He's already completed 2 full items, so Jizuke, he's set up to carry his team now.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what Vitality needs him to do, because he is now the biggest star on this lineup.
Vitality, you're on a ward.
Oh, they realize.
Gets spotted out. Gilius, flag and drags forward. Now he's the one that's taunted up. The teleport starts to get challenged, but Gilius is obliterated where he stands. Didn't even get a chance to flash or cataclysm. Now Jizuke is the target, gets devoured by Jack Troll, pulled back by many troop backs, and Vitality are running for their lives, but they have no life left. Jizuke jumps back in, still no kill on the board. Mickey getting roasted down by the Flame Spitter as Jizuke is running away. Maxwell stays alive just long enough as the Paddle Star is sidestepped, and Alfari kills Cabershot. Vitality just got wrecked.
They were on a ward. Misfits were ready with 5 players. Cabershot could not TP in time. He wasn't there for the start of the fight, and Gilius, as we said before, he's the only man in the front line. He dies pretty quickly. Yes, if you have a control ward and you want to set up a play in a brush, place the control ward first, not now. They engage, look at Cabershot on the main map, he wants to TP. Can't get there in time, Gilius dies instantly. And first part of the fight is now in favor of Misfits. I like to engage in, Shen ulti on the Camille, plus lock the Kassadin in, Takenchi to deny it. And now Cabershot joins with a very good ulti, because everyone is just chasing the kills, and Jizuke did manage to find something in return.
And Summer went down.
Almost getting the kill on Mickey, but he's fine.
The Misfits just get a gigantic advantage. 2,000 gold is what the equates to in gold. They got themselves that second tower as well, just moments before, and you see the team fight impact, the power that Alfari's Hextech Ultimatum has at locking down a single target, but if Jack Troll's around, Devour helps a lot.
And the amount of damage we get from Ezreal and Zoe, especially, is so key in the game here. Only Gilius there tanking all the damage. Can't stay alive long enough, so Vitality's like, engage in, land the Rumble ulti, and Jizuke just sits on the side, looks for the weakest prey, and then bam, that's a kill. It's like watching a nature documentary about the lions attacking.
It is. They've got to set up a lot of time, stalk their prey, wait for the opportunity, and that's where we find ourselves again.
And they have to find a weak one. Otherwise, you won't get the kill.
Nope. So if you go for a full health target with mobility, you can just run away. In the Serengeti, it's the weak fledglings, the low HPs, the ones that's cut off from the herd, that get shut down.
Well, can Jizuke find anything in the fights?
Right, the fact that Hunt Summer's going to a side lane, does that give us some indication on how Misfits want to
it's in the same.
Jizuke back?
Keep Sengoku's mid, kills the wave, and goes side lane with Hansama, but Vitality gets the pressure now. Max Lord jumps in first, tries to stop the tower from dying. Didn't happen. Now Vitality can start pushing mid more, get some Baron control, utilize Kalista around it. It's a lot of ways to win the game for both teams. And give me another one, because the last 2 fights, they've been pretty insane.
They were really, really drawn out, really long games. 24 minutes in, 2 towers to 2. Of course, it's the last game of the week on 8.3 here in EU. Jizuke gets jumped on. There is an Abyssal Voyager from Jack Troll. The Devour buys just a few extra seconds. Jizuke stays inside the belly of Jack Troll, but not long enough. Gilius goes back in with a Cataclysm, buying some time. Alfari's going low. Jizuke can't do it though. The sleep comes out. Yowsam Zekam Senkax. He blows up Jack Troll on the back end. Equalizer's available for Cabochard as now Mini Truebax is doing what work he can, but there's 5 members of Misfits trying to run him down. Maxwell's passive gets pulped, Cell Division there. Now Alfari's the target. He gets dropped down. Renstack's not going to be enough. The Bubble Trouble will not find a sleep, and the True Shot Barrage, no follow-up kills. Misfits get 3, and Vitality get nothing back.
We get that play we talked about so much. Camille jumps in with ult, Shen shows up, and Jackson tried to counter it with the Tahm Kench. And that was fine at first, but when Gilius shows up to try and protect his mid laner as well, that's where Misfits keeps finding targets they can play around, because it's Tahm Kench plus Jarvan, great taunt from Mickey. And now, because of Max Law's CC, Gilius can't get out. Jizuke, run. Just run with Jack Troll. He thinks he can maybe kill Alfari. Doesn't happen, so now there's 3 kills for Misfits. And they end up winning the fight. Get that play in the side lanes, and we get to see how hard it is to play Kassadin split push against Camille Shen. And that's, again, why Vitality needs to win the game through fighting.
And man, you can see the moment team fights break out, just how every single person throws everything into the team fights.
I like it.
Ultimates, teleports, Abyssal Voyages, Mini Truebax gets caught. The long-range stretching strike, but Jack Troll is there on time to save him with Devour. So Misfits still maintain a small gold lead. They maintain some semblance of control around the Baron pit, but look at the vision all over the place.
Oh, Vitality might set up a trap bot lane. Or they're just taking blue buff for Mini Truebax. One of the two, but there is a single Camille sitting down here. Not showing herself, and good old Jack Troll just here to be able to use ulti with Kalista towards the Baron in case it got started by Misfits team. Didn't happen. Oh, Jack Troll, not Jack Troll, Mickey.
Gonna get a good taunt onto Jizuke. A little bit of a turnaround. Riffle comes out. The silence, the sleep gonna come in. Jizuke takes down Mickey. Now Vitality are grouped up. It's a 5-on-4. Stand United will be up when Mickey respawns in 30 seconds time, but that's a good equalizer. Jack Troll's found Maxwell. He's got no passive, remember. Mini Truebax takes him out, and Gilius is exploded. Senkax finds the paddle star. So far, it's a 1-for-2 in favor of Vitality.
That all started with Mickey throwing himself towards Jizuke, realized his team wasn't coming, and then he was left alone, and he just went down. Vitality still with Kalista alive. Might they play safe. They played safe. I wonder if they could try and go Baron there, but I think they're missing the jungler to tank it more than anything. And it would have been too risky against Senkux on the Zoe. 4 kills for him so far. So Mickey jumps in. We talked about how Jizuke wants to find the weak ones, you know, the ones who's left alone that he can jump on. And Mickey just kind of ran into Jizuke and then realized his team actually wasn't ready to help him and gave up that first kill, and they're trying to get onto Maxwell right after. And we'll take him down eventually as Jack Troll follows him in. Sadly for Gilius, jump away. Smack.
Man, that is so dirty.
There's currently no MR on Gilius' side.
It doesn't help a lot. Ninja Tabai, Warmogs, Cinderhulk. Oh, shout out, by the way. This is the last European LCS game, potentially ever, with Tracker's Knife.
Oh, yeah.
It dies. Rest in peace.
Rest
All
in
right,
peace.
Rest in pieces. Tracker's Knife Wards. That's what this shout out is. Thank you, observers. Because, of course, next week we're 8.4. So NALCS Countdown is live on twitch.tv/NALCS. When we wrap up here, we'll, of course, hand over to the NA crew. And the EU LCS post-game lobby will take place on twitch.tv/EU LCS. So if you want to stick around and watch the post-game lobby for the week, you should have swapped over now so your viewing will be uninterrupted. Right now, Hansama's being interrupted as the Arcane shifts over the back. Let's bounce by some time. Vitality throw out the equalizer. Hextech Ultimatum comes down. It looks like Misfits are winning this fight, but nobody's down yet. The Sleepy Trouble Bubble Catcher's won. It's a trade so far. 2 kills in favor of Misfits. Let's kiss as a Max Law takes down Vitality. It's a triple kill for Alfari, and Misfits are winning every single fight.
And we have so many of these fights, and they look close, but the fact that Hansama and Senkux are so strong at this point in the game with their damage, and then the Camille with the cleanup and the engage allows them to win the fight here. Great play from Misfits. Vitality, they know they just have to try and keep fighting with their draft, but it is difficult for them to actually kill the carries. Let's see the start of the fight. Asama kind of baiting around. Maxwell ends up standing next to him, then taking all the damage, and that's fine for Misfits. This is Zac. He wants to do this. He can stay alive for long enough. Truebax takes a ton of damage, and in the end, Alfari is just sitting able to play house. And Misfits, they get the Baron.
Man, they get a great team fight. 14 kills to 7.
Oh.
Up 3,000 gold. And look at that damage. 3,400 for Alfari's Camille. Just really taking over the game. He's 6-0-4. To be fair, all of Misfits feel like they're playing the team fights really well.
Agree, 100%.
And as we get close to 30 minutes on the clock, Vitality, they did get the Dragon, but it is a very, very small consolation prize for a team that's now 4K behind, going to lose another tower shortly, and they have to deal with Baron-empowered minions.
And a team that can't really keep the AD carry alive long enough. Kalista always getting hit by it. Camille trying again.
Well, let's see what happens. The flash used by Hansama.
Jizuke!
But Jizuke's caught out in the back end. Riftwalk by, just enough time for him to escape. Here comes Alfari. Capo shot goes golden with the Flame Spitter, trying to fry Misfits. Simply not enough damage. Mini Troopax cannot get enough Ren stats. 2 members of Vitality are down. Maxwell comes flying in. Mini Troopax is spat back out as Jack Troll is killed. And finally a kill for Vitality, but it is not enough. It is too little, and it might be too late. Misfits are in the base.
And the fact that Misfits, they have a front line here with the Shen, with the Zac, it buys so much time for the carries to kill the squishy targets on Vitality. Gilius, he's left alone in the front. He will die every single fight, because behind him, there's not enough follow-up damage at the moment. Jizuke is trying to find some openings, but this actually started with him going too aggressive, because they were chasing the kill on Hansama. Jizuke then jumps the wall. He's like, wait a minute. 3 Misfits players, and he's out of the fight, basically. Now he can't jump back in. And there's no threat against the carries of Misfits.
And Vitality starting to fall apart. Earlier in the game, we talked about the fact Vitality, they're on a 3-game losing streak. How Gilius, you know, said he's going to start turning things around. And while Vitality had a better early game, fact of the matter is, each of these team fights, Misfits just seem to have Vitality's number.
I think just the fact, like, there is, again, as I said before, like, there's a front line.
Yeah.
There's a Zac who won't die easy, and in case he ever dies, there's a passive as well. There is, even with this, like, Camille, Alfari is able to buy a lot of time for his team, where he can kind of dance in and out, and he won't die quickly either, with the shield coming from the Moor. So, Vitality's comp, it feels like, if it doesn't instantly kill someone with ulti from Rumble and then Jizuke, like one-shotting Hansama or Senkux, the damage is just superior on Misfit's side, and they have Maxwell in the front. So it gets really difficult for Vitality to play the fights. The moment they started losing the first ones and they didn't snowball the game, it's really hurt them.
Let's see if they can find an opportunity to get back into the game. I mean, Jizuke, Hourglass, Lichbane,
they're trying now.
Of Ages.
Oh, it cancelled.
Teleport got cancelled almost instantly, it looked like. Is it Devour from Jack Troll's going to spit out Gilius? Grey Health has been used. His Mini Troopax throws down the Fate's Call, so that's one ultimate no longer available. Hansama fires the True Shot Barrage in, I believe, completely the wrong direction. Ignore that one. As now Misfits continue to siege the top lane. Baron has worn off though.
Can they get the turret down as well? They're ready to take a fight. They're not afraid. There's no Kalista ult for the next one. So wait to see if Cabo Shot and Jizuke together can destroy someone. They got rank 3 ultis now on both Rumble and Chasm. That's going to be big for the next fight.
Yeah.
I like the Locket Shield on Mickey though. Always there to just protect his carries.
I mean, Mini Troopax got chunked out there. 50% of his hit points down. Him and Cabo going to clear out the wave. Cabo just slowly overheating there, so no long-range equalizer if it was needed.
It's interesting, though, that we've heard from Vitality that they didn't like the draft in the last few games. Some of them were too hard to play. You know, they wanted something a little bit simpler. And then they go Kassadin Rumble.
Yep.
Which is really
difficult.
Really difficult to play in these fights against Misfits who have, like, tank in the front, long-range poke in the back. I think Vitality gambled maybe a little bit too much in the pick and man phase. I like the Rumble against Camille, though, to try and win the lane. And then the Kassadin against Zoe also makes a lot of sense, but they couldn't play split push due to Shen being in the game, and Camille, of course, with her ulti can just keep them there in the side lane. So they had to fight their way out. And when they started losing some of the mid-game fights against a very strong, you know, Zoe who got early kills, it got difficult.
And so much credit to Misfits as well for pulling out the Camille. It was first pick Zoe, the fact they had Shen in their back pocket, whether they were scrimming with it or just it made sense this game. You know, all credit to Misfits. They've use their team comp effectively.
And Alfari's been getting all the kills.
Yes.
For himself on this Camille. Had really good team fighting. Punished in the side lane as well whenever he could. Misfits. No Drakes yet in this game, so it's going to be 2 Cloud Drakes only and then Elder Drake spawn. So it's going to be pretty meh Elder Drake.
Not the most exciting. For Misfits, they've got absolute control, so for them it's going to be even less exciting with no dragons. All right, Inhibitor's going to be respawning fairly soon. Elder in 30, Baron in 1 minute. You feel like Misfits will just play around both buffs and then either try re-kill the mid inhib or potentially just go to a different lane.
And as long as Hansama or Senkooks don't end up standing on a Rumble ult and then get one-shot by Jizuke after, they can keep like having these long team fights with Maxlaw just buying time. Hansama's been not picking up the kills, but he's been dealing a ton of damage in Israel in this game. We might get that fight around the Elder Drake and then, as you said, the Baron after. A lot of damage. Oh, he's falling asleep.
Oh, a lot of damage, but there's no follow-up on the paddle star yet. Maxlaw's gone in. Fate's Call was used. Vitality are split. The Equalizer could be useful, though, as Mini Troopax is trying to run for his life. Hextech Ultimatum comes out as Jackal is dropped in the back end. Mini Troopax continues to use that martial poise to hop and skip and jump and try to stack those spears, but Vitality are split up. There's no front line to keep the fight going, and Vitality are crushed and obliterated by Misfits.
Everything goes wrong there for Vitality. The Rumble ulti is just on a bunch of tanks. Jizuke never finds his way in. The carries never takes any damage. And Misfits had full control of the team fights, and they win the game.
Misfits have had full control from the mid-game onwards. Cabochard is the last victim to fall, and Misfits take down the Nexus turrets. They break their losing streak, and Misfits make Vitality go 0-4.
Important for Misfits. So many teams around them, they're fighting in the standings. Horrible for Vitality. Starting off with 7 wins, and now those teams underneath them, they're getting pretty close.
They are indeed, Deficio. That race for the playoffs is really starting to heat up, and the fact that Vitality now find themselves 7 wins and 5 losses. For Misfits, though, they've evened themselves out in the standings. 6 wins, 6 losses. They're not in safety yet. For Misfits, a lot of things to still clean up. And again, we showed that gold graph much earlier on from yesterday, where, of course, Misfits had a great early game and they lost in the mid-game. Huge smiles on the faces there of the Moose and Alfari, and same cannot be said for Jizuke and Vitality. The honeymoon period, the losses are starting to climb up. 7-5 is a difficult place to be. Of course, quick update for everybody. As a reminder, if you do want to watch the EU LCS post-game lobby, be sure to head over to twitch.tv/EULCS. Or if you're watching on watch.lolesports.com, just click on EU LCS and that will help you out. The NALCS countdown is currently taking place on twitch.tv/NALCS. And we'll be handing over to them after a short ad break in a few minutes' time. For now, though, it's celebrating the fact that Misfits have won. Deficio's headed himself over to the post-game lobby. And of course, that will be on twitch.tv/EULCS. We'll be joined by Maxlaw and hear just a few more of his thoughts, as well as some shocks and statements. I hope you're ready for them. We're also going to look at some of the big plays. Right now on twitch.tv/RiotGames, it's the NALCS countdown with the first match in LA beginning on the hour. It's time for us to hop over to the post-game lobby. So we'll see you then, twitch.tv/EULCS.